Hello everyone, Smish here. It's June 2nd, 2020. I'm sitting down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we have the sun right here with our sunspot. It looks like we have another one coming. Just down on the bottom you can see the spiral plasma loops. Looking a little impressive, but we'll have to see. Here's a look at the KP index. Sitting at 2 right now, after we had an M flare the other day, which was the largest solar flare we've had since 2017. Here's an interesting article on Waking Times from May 30th. Strongest solar flares in years coincide with riots, reminding us that solar activity and unrest are historically linked. Down toward the bottom here it says, in 2019 NASA warned that the coming cycle 25 could produce monster flares within the next few years. Of course, it says as Minneapolis burns and the violence spreads, it appears that cycle 25 may be kicking off, and given current events, we could be in for a wild ride, as many have recognized a historical link between increased solar activity and major disruptive and revolutionary events for human societies. Interestingly enough, it goes down here and says another 8 of the 50 most powerful flares since 1986 occurred in 2001, a year that will live in infamy for the events of 9/11, with a large X-class flare and several M-class flares occurring within the week of the destruction of the Twin Towers. So, do you know how when the full moon is out, people act crazier? You know, the generalization of that idea? Imagine that times 10 or more. So on Adapt 2030, their YouTube channel, they had a really good video here on unexplained light and energy in the Earth's skies, a 3,200-year cycle, talking about these extreme jellyfish sprites that you can see with your naked eye now. And then I showed you yesterday the green patches above them. And he relates what's happening to possibly being like Jacob's ladder and an evolutionary advancement in humankind. And why else would they be pushing these vaccines? He thinks they're trying to stop us from being able to evolve and change rapidly. So our electric universe. We have here a report that lightning has struck at least 15 wildfires across Alaska. This from yesterday. This one says almost 8,700 lightning strikes in Washington on Saturday, nearly 2/3 annual average. Wow. And it just seems like more things get hit by lightning in India than anywhere else. At least 34 goats killed by 2 lightning strikes. Here's one on Cosmos, talking about a bigger cycle, apparently. What caused Antarctic ice sheets' rapid retreat 12,000 years ago? And it says at one point, surrounding the Antarctic coastline, the ice shelves were retreating up to 50 meters a day at the end of the last ice age. And here they take a comment talking about climate change to continue weakening the ice shelves. In the coming decades, we could see similar rates of retreat with profound implications for global sea level rise. And the comment is, nothing like that is occurring today, which should alert the researchers to the fact that the melt at the end of the last ice age wasn't due to global warming, but was instead due to something much more powerful and immediate. In fact, aside from warming induced by undersea volcanoes, ice sheets are growing and summers are becoming colder. And yes, what did they say? Volcanic activity is going to increase with the grand solar minimum. Here it says, Nisarga to intensify into severe tropical cyclone. First such storm to hit, I can't really say that one, in June since 1891. So it is in the Arabian Sea. Tornado in Belgorod, Russia. 1 dead and 4 people missing due to 147 mudslides, landslides triggered by heavy rainfall in China. And in the Gulf of Mexico, we'll take a look in a second. There is an 80% chance now of development of a hurricane, I guess. Already a tropical depression. Here's what it looks like on the radar. This is the one that just impacted Central America and killed 10 people in El Salvador. So let's just take a look and see what they have in store for the Gulf of Mexico here. There's a satellite. They give any predictions? Straight up. Looks like it's going toward New Orleans. Heads up, y'all. And if you're outside of this red impact area, you're probably going to be okay. But we know how that goes sometimes. Here's a little quick look at the Quake Map with no big earthquakes on the map right now. Nothing over a 5.0. This is down by Argentina. See what just happened. We had one in Romania that just happened. And let's see, over here we had a big 4-pointer the other day. Here's a 4.1 in the Dominican Republic. And in Playa, Mexico. Here's one from May 29th, talking about the geysers maybe signaling magma intrusion under Yellowstone. There's a new study by Wicks and colleagues of the Journal of Geophysical Research that examines the restless behavior and try to understand what drives the deformation and how it might be linked to Steamboat Geyser. It turns out that the rising and falling of land, the behavior of some geysers, and the intrusion of new magma underneath Yellowstone could all be linked. Here on thesun.com, Terminator, is that not racist? China considering plans to genetically modify soldiers to make army of Terminator-style troops. If they're doing it, we're doing it. So I guess the protests have spread. The U.S. anti-racism protests stretched to distant New Zealand. Meanwhile, we could have been protesting to get this guy out. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange misses a UK hearing as unwell with respiratory problems. This one on Neiman Lab. U.S. police have attacked journalists more than 100 times in the past 4 days. Although in some of the incidents it's possible the journalists were hit or affected accidentally, in the majority of the cases we have recorded, the journalists are clearly identifiable as press, and it is clear that they are being deliberately targeted. Think about that. And we have incidents in many states where police and sheriffs took off his helmet and marched with protesters, or NYPD officers take a knee in solidarity with protesters. De Blasio praises them for listening and working with the community. And then we had another incident to stir the pot. Body cameras weren't activated when authorities fatally shot a Louisville man in Louisville, Kentucky. A barbecue restaurant owner was shot by police or a National Guard member. People are saying that there was a shot fired, and the police were saying that, but there was a group of people there, and the guy that they shot, they're saying was not the person who fired the shot at police, and obviously didn't have a weapon on him. And then we have some incidents here. This guy's pointing at the cops saying they're destroying their own car, they're smashing through the windshields, and they're going to blame it on protesters. Have another video I watched where a gentleman was talking over a live broadcast, and they were smashing up a police car, the protesters, and there was a line of cops there just 100 feet away, and they weren't doing anything to stop them. And then by the time the news crews got there to film, the cops started walking up to break them up and get them away. It just seems hella rigged. This is a really funny video on Hidden Truths on Library TV. Cops racially harass and arrest an undercover FBI agent. This guy is calling them idiots the whole time, and then when they see his ID, he makes their supervisor come over and writes them all up. Anonymous hacked Chicago Police Department radios and played NWA's F the Police during the protests. This was from 2 days ago. After Anonymous promises retribution for George Floyd's death, the Minneapolis police website shows signs that it was hacked. Just like the virus they let get out of control, they're also letting this issue get out of control, or stirring the fire, so to speak. White House is now establishing a central command center to combat riots as Trump issues a warning and says that he's going to have the military take back our cities because our governors can't do it. Pentagon officials express concern as Trump threatens to use military to dominate protesters after we tell China that they're wrong for using force. So we have 6 people killed and thousands arrested. 26 states called in the National Guard to quell a third night of chaos. Obviously, that was a couple days ago. And here's a good article from the Off Guardian. You can look at 20 unanswered questions. And here they are. How did we get here, of course? And why did his video go viral so much? What's so different about this one? Here they ask, why did RT run a similar op-ed that used exactly the same arguments in exactly the same way? Why are we being sold this new meme that violence is now it merely acceptable, but inevitable, even good? Why are mass gatherings in the US, Berlin, and London not murder anymore? And here it is, what I'm thinking. Why are the police currently going out of their way to make themselves look as bad as possible and to further incentiveness this multifocal promotion of violence? And RT here, after we just saw that, reporting on who burned the homeless camp, Antifa and InfoWars play the blame game over Austin riots. Somebody set a homeless camp on fire, and they're saying the InfoWars crew did it. One thing's for sure, you should probably just give up your guns because Democrats will totally protect you. You have no worries. And apparently lots of other people think that way because gun sales surged 80% in May, says research firm. So I guess the real question is, where's the force behind this turmoil? Is continued push for turmoil? White liberals paid by George Soros labeled as white supremacist. It's a setup. This is on something called officer.com. It's from 2016, June 2nd. Police union head calls BLM terrorist group. And here it reads, I don't see Black Lives Matter as a voice for the black community in Minneapolis, he said during a press conference pointing to the takeover of the 4th Precinct in the aftermath of the shooting. Another incident that's happened, huh? The disruption, they firebombed the precinct. There were shootings outside the precinct, hundreds and thousands of dollars of damage to the precinct and squad cars. So obviously this isn't the first time. And this one from 2017, December 15th on Fox News. Black Lives Matter has been hijacked by George Soros, says Sheriff Clark. Former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark on Friday said that George Soros has hijacked the Black Lives Matter organization in order to promote anti-capitalism. It has George Soros funding written all over it. His movement, the anti-capitalism movement, the anti-socialist movement, has hijacked Black Lives Matter, and they use them as a mask. They figured out what's coming out of the 60s when they failed with this movement. They felt that they were too white, and they needed to add color, he said. Billionaire investor George Soros has donated millions of dollars to Black Lives Matter through his Open Society Foundation, according to the Washington Times. And you just wonder how crazy and how deep this hole goes. I don't know about this one, but I saw this meme, Hidden Truths, on Library TV. Is Derek Chauvin actually actor Benjamin Ray Bailey? And pretty uncannily kind of looks similar, but the other thing I was noting is the guy's picture when he got booked into jail looks different than his pictures online, some people are saying. The question is, if they can make a false pandemic, they can do anything globally. A list of hundreds of social media posts reporting falsified death certificates put in one place here. Reality is, this is not a revolution, it's a blueprint for locking down the nation. And Funvax is bullshit.